something about bullying, and I'm just gonna say I may get very emotional, and will also say that this video may be a trigger for some of you, like some of you viewers. So I just want you to know that you might want to watch with caution. This may contain a lot of depressing or very private talk, and everything is anonymous. So, and this is my story about bullying. So I'll just jump right in. So I'm well known to a certain extent. I'm the overly picky, positive person that has a lot of experience in the restaurant business for a 12-year-old, and that shares her problems at home, yet I don't talk about my feelings very often. Yeah, now I'm gonna lay this flat. I've been bullied since I've been very young. I would sit in front of the classroom just listening to the guidance counselor of the school talk about what bullying was, and in my head I would compare what she said to my own experiences, and so I would never flat out say I was bullied. And even if I did compute that I was bullied, I would never have said it. Now, I personally have always thought quote unquote depressed people were very pitiful until I was in the 4th grade, when I started gaining a lot of emotions and experience with emotions. And in the 5th grade, when COVID started and I missed out on almost all of it, our school opened its doors back up in 6th grade with mask mandates. I was relatively a normal girl, played football, basketball, ballet, and even cheerleading. I have always done what I wanted with my time. My grades were quite well, and my teachers were average. But one teacher, let's call him Mr. Gator, was also a coach of the basketball team. And we were riding on the bus to a game, and I remember saying, I don't care about something, and I don't exactly know what I was saying. And he replied with, then what do you care about? Are you okay? And I sat down, no answer, and thought about it. The rest of the game played really bad because of thinking about it, and the bus ride back home. And like I said about people with depression being pitiful in my mind, I didn't realize I was one of those people until the next day. That was when I had my first mental break. And all the stuff from when I moved, when I was 7, and just all the built up feelings broke open, and it wrecked everything. My sports, my grades. I went from a B honor roll student to being a low grade D and F student. And what people thought about me had already been bad. And after I started posting on social media about my feelings at first, and talking about my feelings, and just being as crazy as possible, I built up this wall, and that's the best way I can describe it. And so what people thought about me was already bad, and after I built that wall, it all got worse. To distract people from my mental problems, I said I was gay or bisexual and biromantic. I didn't want to look pitiful, and then I stopped feeling my true emotions for around a year and a half. I hated myself. At one point, I was at such a low, I thought about ending it all and seeing how people would react. Then the school I went to had their first suicidal break, their first suicide. That was when a boy ended it after being heavily cyberbullied on top of things going on at home. Then the BLM and the ALM and the riots and vaccinations and so much more came out and stressed me and my family out. That really made me start leaving bruises on myself and hurting myself mentally. And even emotionally. But I still hadn't opened up to anyone yet. And when I tried to open up to my best friend, and she didn't really care at the time. And I ended up crying for the first time in almost 14 months. Again, I was mad at myself. Finally, summer comes, and then there was almost a divorce in my family. When I say my family, I mean my parents. It resulted in my dad quitting his alcoholic addiction. I thought it was better. There was a boy, we'll call him Kevin. We had added each other on Snapchat, and he did go to my school, and we had found out that we would have 6 out of 7 classes together in middle school. My naive self thought I could make the best of the situation and kill him with kindness. I mean, my mental stability was bettering, and I was healthy again. And I thought 7th grade could be a fresh start. First week of school, I had gotten quarantined. And I came back, and the word sex had normalized around my grade. 12, 13-year-olds, some younger, some older, were dancing in the midnight, I'll say. August 31st was when my bullying was considered a half case. People would call me ugly and that they would rather not have met me, or that they wish I would die, or even darker stuff from my past. And they would even say something like, I was so annoying they'd rather listen to a boring teacher than me. And what really got to me was when they would bring up my past, which I wasn't really proud of. And then in 2021, on October 4th, I visited I'll say Cheyenne. And I had gone with my best friend, and I had mentioned ending it all. And Miss Cheyenne took Victoria out of the room and asked me about my suicidal thoughts. I answered no, and that was when my wall of perfect imperfections that I had built just fell down all at once, collapsed. And I didn't know how to make what was up here come out verbally. It was when I had my 3rd mental breakdown by this time, and I was the psycho of the school. The one who had already had almost 2 jobs at the age of 12, and I wasn't eating, wasn't drinking water, and was pushing myself off the edge, hoping I could end it all naturally and not hurt anyone. I was so scared that I was going to hurt someone that I didn't want to hurt someone with my death, and I didn't want to live either. And then people would gag when I walked into the room because I dressed weird, and they would yell at me in the middle of class, interrupting the teacher, saying I was quote-unquote gay when I started hanging out with my now boyfriend. When I started hanging out with my boyfriend, more often, and really, in a way, he saved me. Same as Victoria. I thought I had reached enlightenment. My grades were better for the first time in almost a whole 3 years. And I had all A's at one point. Everyone was worried about themselves. And then gym got violent. I had another mental breakdown. It involved me and a girl arguing, and we both yelled about our past, and she was the new girl, and me and her just had very clashing personalities, and she didn't quite like me. I had that mental breakdown pretty recently. I'd say in about September, I'd say. And then on the 28th, I went through my first passing animal. My dog crossed the Rainbow Bridge, and I acted like everything was okay. And when I went to school, one of my friends one of my co-ed teachers started talking about my dog. And she said, "I saw you walking your dog across the street." And I lost it and yelled at her saying, "Well, my dog's dead now." And she replied with, "Oh, I'm sorry," and everyone else once again called me a psycho. On the 28th, when my dog passed away, I also had a job interview, and I ended up getting into the school. It was a job and a school. It was 6 months of training, and I'm still in the school. And yeah, on the 29th, I had a call, said I was accepted in. Yeah. And at that point, when they called me, I was so broken from bullying and my dog passing away, and anyone who followed me on Snapchat at that time watched me cry and cry and cry for almost 3 weeks on end. And I would cry myself to sleep for, I think it was about 5 weeks after the 3 weeks, so that's 8 weeks crying. And yeah, skip forward to the new year. I was going to be more positive, make more money. I went back to school. It was almost my 13th birthday. I started opening up about my feelings with my parents and social media, and then the counselor of my school. I had told almost everyone that it was my birthday 2 days before my birthday, which was January 10th. And then the 11th, and then on the bus on the way to school, I picked up my phone and I read a text. That text read, "I hope you die today." Unknown message. Don't know who it was. I realized as soon as I read that message what was a sweet 7-year-old girl who moved to Indiana hoping to escape physical bullying and all the drama that my first grade self was going through, who was innocent, was now struggling with depression and anxiety, and then that led to chronic insomnia. And then I stopped eating. One of the girls on my basketball team yelled at me because she was starving herself, in order to lose weight. She had thrown up. I yelled back, starting the argument, saying that I had my own experience with eating disorders. When I started myself, I had low-grade anorexia. When I realized that, I forced myself to eat and had worried my parents, and that scared me even more than death, and that made me fall deeper into depression once again. And when that girl replied with, what were you trying to do? Were you trying to make your mommy and daddy proud because you're a screw up? And these are two different girls, but both the same argument. I said no and continued to practice. Ran out of the locker room, teary-eyed. Then on January 13th was Kevin's birthday, a day after mine. And he started saying his was more important and he had his way with everyone and everything. And then in 7th period math class, I was called down to the office. The vice principal was calling me down, saying my mother had called. My heart instantly dropped. And I instantly started bawling. And yeah, you're basically caught up. I'm telling this as how bullying has affected me now. And since then, I have to say that I had 6 classes with Kevin, and now I have to change my schedule because of how bad the bullying was. Ever since I was in 4th grade, I've been wanting to have art with a specific teacher, and this year I finally had 2 weeks of art with him, and now I have to go into engineering because of how bad the bullying is. And my first and second hour are now flipped, so that just goes to show that what you think may be a perfect world on the outside is not a perfect world on the inside. Whether it's between 2 people or just in your mind, you don't have to tell people what you're going through and it'll still change. So, there are some loose things I will lightly touch up on later. Now, I've been told I'm fragile. I've been told I'm depressed. I've been told so many things. And I know there are more people more fragile than me, and I know there are people stronger than me, but I have to say that a glass vase still holds flowers. And when I say that, I mean, if you throw glass on the ground, it'll shatter. But before it's broken, it still holds flowers. And even if you glue these pieces back together, they're still going to hold flowers. And I guess I just think of that whenever I'm like not going well inside. And when I opened up to my counselor for the first time, I was so used to not feeling my true emotions and so used to faking what was on the outside and presenting myself as as proper as possible girl. I eventually lost it. That's the best word I can say. Because of how emotional I had been after I opened up to my counselor, I got so emotional I would cry after an insult in gym. And that led to my fourth mental breakdown. But if you really think about it, some people are better at hiding it than others. And when you build up a wall and it all breaks down at once, it hits something and it goes like a ping in your head. There is something wrong with you, but no one is there to tell you it's okay. And I guess that was what was going on with me. Because of what society says, what bullying is, my guidance counselor, after I had a talk with her about what society says bullying is, the definition, she said she will change the school's definition of bullying for it, because society says that bullying is only physical. Like in movies, all you see is what bullying is just beating you up for no reason, or a bunch of boys ganging up on one girl or one boy, or a bunch of guys ganging up on a boy and shoving him in the toilet, or just doing horrible, horrible things. But really, bullying causes mental pain. And for those of you who don't realize you're bullying, but you do know you're teasing people a lot, I have to say that once it develops into bullying, all I have to say is what Kevin and a lot of other people would say to me, their voice would echo in my head saying multiple things, saying, you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, you're not worth it, you're useless. And it would just echo in my head multiple times with their voice. But you don't realize that's actually your voice in your head telling you that. I have to say, when I resorted to punching myself and even thinking about ending it, I think because no one was there, or because I didn't trust anyone, because I had been hurt so many times, I didn't know how to react. I've always been raised being told 2 different stories about myself, and one of them would be, you're psycho, you don't know what you're doing, you're just a kid, you don't know how to do anything, you're useless. And the other side was what other people thought of me who met me was, you're a perfect little girl, you don't need to change anything about yourself, you have beautiful blonde hair, you have perfect ocean eyes. And I think growing up with those 2 different backgrounds of what people would think of me really hurt. And I think that's why I had built the wall. When I came out about me getting into the school, the modeling school, Modeling and Acting Barbizon USA, and I had been so happy, I told one person, and then they told another, and I guess a lot of people were happy for me, like the teachers, and I just got a note actually today saying my mom knows a lot of people in the little town I live in, and it happened to be her saying that everyone in the town knows I'm gonna grow up to be something. And so that gave me a big push. And so as soon as she said that today, I realized I need to film this video, and I really need to come clean about what I've been going through, because though I haven't gone through half the amount a couple of my friends have, or half the amount that even the saddest person in the world has, the smallest thing can hurt you, and it breaks you down piece by piece. And the best thing I did is opening up, and that was the hardest thing I did too. When I was talking to Miss Cheyenne about opening up, I said that the only reason I did is because I was so tired of trying to deal with depression, and what I saw as an easy task was really hard on me, because what that task was putting a mask on. And when I say that around years of mask mandates and stuff like that in my school, I mean putting on that fake layer of emotion, saying, oh, I'm happy all the time and everything, when really I was dealing with depression and anxiety and worrying about what people were thinking about me. But honestly, now that I'm making this video, I think I'm excited, because after that, of the 6 years of living here, almost 7 years of living here, I know that I can make my own story. And though I grew up with people telling me that I was gonna be famous and I was gonna do this and I was gonna do that, and the other side of the story telling me I wasn't gonna be anything, I realized that feeling my emotions is okay. Crying after an insult in gym is okay. There's nothing wrong with being emotional, because that just shows you as a person that you aren't okay. And the sooner you know that you're not okay, the sooner you can help yourself. And what people would always tell me when I needed help, when I was crawling out of the gutter for help, and they would always say, journal your feelings, talk about it. Those aren't as easy, because what's up here doesn't always come out here. And so the hardest thing was to try not to open up and try not to do this and just put on a mask. And that's all I have to say. I mean, I remember in Oregon, which is where I'm originally from, I remember coming home crying, walking home crying from first grade, because people would take Sharpie marker and like color on my favorite things, or they'd stomp on my notebooks. And at one point, the bullying there had gotten so bad that who I thought was a close friend of mine told me she would want to bring a knife to school and murder me. And of course, me thinking that was okay, I didn't tell my parents for such a long time. And so I hid that. And I think I was 6 years old when I finally told my parents what had happened, and they took it straight to the principal's office. And so those of you who don't have trust issues, I'd say the best thing to do is just keep on trusting people, but don't be too trusting. Because if I hadn't had the trust issues I do now, and if I hadn't had the ideal thought of what a life is supposed to be, I probably would have reached out to someone a long time ago, and I could have avoided all that, dealing with the depression and the insomnia. And even to this day, I still have insomnia, and I've had insomnia for around 2 years, but now it's chronic. Actually, after filming this video, I think I'm gonna have the best sleep I ever had because I'm finally sharing it with someone. And if you are like me and you do have trust issues, I think the best thing to do is keep thinking about it. Because if you don't, it's all gonna break down. I think you need to build a door in that little wall of yours and allow that person in your head to come in and say it's all right. And once you have said you're all right, then you can tell someone else, because the world is a dark place and people in it can be dark, but really, if you can put out light, then this world could be light itself. On that note, I'm going to have to say bye-bye. I need to get to editing and go to bed. Thank you for listening. I am glad you're here to listen, and even if me saying it doesn't, sorry, my camera died. Even if me saying it doesn't get out to people, I have to say that if someone takes what I say and says it's on their YouTube channel or their social media, if it benefits someone and opens up their eyes and tells themselves or tells other people that they're okay and that there's always someone out there, as scary as it may sound, if I can help someone, I'm happy. Now, posting this video may backfire on me, but I'm not scared. I want to be the person who's there, but I also want someone to be there for me, is what a lot of people think. So I have to say, love you guys, and wherever you are, good night, good morning, I don't know. For me it's night, so I'm gonna say good night. Bye-bye, love you. Hello there, it's Emma. This is my first YouTube video. Why would I start it like that? Hello there, it's Emma. Yeah, this is my favorite